Hi, my name is Debra R. Richardson of Debra R. Richardson LLC, and I work with you to help you clean up your vendor data, clean up your vendor processes so that you can pay the right vendor. Now, this week's Vendor Master File tip of the week is 3 reasons why you should not take phone calls from vendors. Now, the first reason is because you don't know who's calling. Even if you did know the vendor's phone number and recognized it, the phone numbers can be spoofed. So you really don't know who's calling. And that is very bad because we all have heard of deep fake videos. There's also deep fake audio. And so even if you knew what that employee sounded like, that doesn't help because the deep fake can mimic that. And all of this around artificial intelligence, and I know ChatGPT has been big in discussions, but the technology that drives that also drives these AI apps that can enable you and the fraudsters too, because they have all the same tools and probably better than what we have. But it enables them to upload any voice that's talking from like a video and then mimic it. So you really don't know who's on the other end of that phone. So even if you think there is I guess an advantage because you know your employees or leadership's voices, still may not be them. Now, the third reason is, voice is the oldest form of communication. And so it is really the easiest method to social engineer you. And an example of that, and I'll put a link to this YouTube video in the description, but it took this good hacker less than 2 minutes to social engineer this phone agent for this guy's account, and she was able to change the PIN number, she was able to change the password, and she used some social engineering techniques like a baby crying and just a scenario that just kind of tugged at the heart, right? Bring out that emotion. And that's really what the goal of social engineering is to do. And so this video is 2 minutes and 38 seconds long, I think, but 40 seconds of that was her talking to him. So it took less than 2 minutes to break into his account with no information at all, no validating information. And so speaking of validating or authenticating information, I do have a free training session. You can watch it on demand. It's called Building an Authentication Reference so your vendor team and help desk do not communicate with the fraudster. And it's all about identifying questions that you can ask to the vendor and maybe even your internal employee if you're not sure who they are, right? So it has, you can build in those identifying questions just like your bank calls or your bank asks you when you call them. They don't just start talking to you about whatever you called about. They will identify you first. And so you need to do the same thing for your vendors and maybe even your internal employees, because that was the example I gave in the second reason. If they contact the help desk team or contact you outside of a company platform or the company phone system. So make sure you know that you're actually talking to who you think you're talking to and not to a fraudster. All right. So if you would like more information on how to improve your vendor process, please go to my website at debrarrichardson.com for free tools and resources to avoid fraud, regulatory fines, and just overall bad vendor data. Now, if you would like access to over 149 annual hours of training for your vendor team, check out the Vendor Process Training Center at training.debrarrichardson.com, and all of that will be in the description. And that is where that training session I just talked about will be. So good luck, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified next Tuesday for the next Vendor Master File tip of the week.